Hello, my Crystal Loves Texas family. Hello, my bestie Rebecca Williams.
Hey, big sis, how are you?
Oh, Rebecca, we are here at the end of the 2023-24 school year.
Well, the last quarter.
How do you feel? Well, I'm looking at it like this. We're in 30 days, within 30 days.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
You're right.
So to me, that's the end. Okay. So recap. All things considered. How are you feeling? Can you breathe a sigh of relief? You made it through.
I'm surprised I made it through. I'm surprised.
Why you say that?
Do you know how much I thought about quitting?
Well, is that a bad thing?
Oh, of course not. Of course not. Of course not. I'm just I'm shocked that I haven't. That's all.
Okay. Now, interestingly enough, we're going to be talking about something today, because we're in a chat on a social media platform, and
I'm in several.
Well, I'm in a chat. I'm not going to disclose what chat it is. In a social media platform that's comprised of a lot of people who have gone through much of what we've gone through this year. And the good thing about this chat is that you're allowed to be very candid because you're able to post things anonymously.
Of course.
Okay. And that is very important because what we know is that many people feel as though they have been sitting in a place of retaliation. If anything is said that would ruffle the feathers or would call into question any of the things that they have experienced.
Right.
And one thing that we know is this: it's very important. It's very important to be able to call into question or to ask questions about your situation, and to be able, but I was always taught this, and you tell me if you were taught the same thing. If you see a challenge with something, do not come to a superior with something that you see as a challenge without something that could be a possible solution to that challenge.
Oh, of course.
Yes.
Of course. Somebody wants to hear quote unquote complaints.
Okay, that's right. Unless you have some way to circumvent that particular situation. And this particular chat allows people to do that. And I've got to tell you something. Since November, this particular chat, I completely feel, I'm not even going to say torn. My heart just bleeds for the people who are still sitting in a situation whereby they have no peace. And that should not be the case for the job that we do. If nurses are sitting in a situation where they have no peace, what can they do?
Leave.
They can. If
leave because they know they can always go find another job.
That's right. If a dentist is sitting in a situation where he's not pleased with his patients and he has no peace, what can he do?
Remove them.
Or he can go start a practice elsewhere.
Right.
I
was talking about the patients per se.
Absolutely. He can definitely remove the patients.
Yes. I can drop you as a patient.
Absolutely he can. But he has options.
Right.
Okay. With this particular chat, Rebecca, one thing that I have noticed is that so many people feel a sense of helplessness. And one thing that I want to do before the end of our podcast today is help to dispel that sense of helplessness. Now, one thing I can tell you is this: I'm trying to always look at the right camera. I think I'm looking at the right one now, Rebecca, right?
Yeah, it's the one ahead.
It's the one with the blue light. Okay. One thing I can say is this: before the night this podcast is over, I want people to feel as though they have options. One thing my mother always told me was this: if you do your job well, if you do what you're asked, if you come to work on time, if you are reliable, then if that job does not turn out well, then that means you need to find somewhere else.
Right.
She basically put it like this: you were looking for a job when you
You
found
got
that
that
one.
one.
So that means that there are entities out there that respect and put value on those types of qualities.
I think one of the main reasons for that, because I deal with this group personally,
Mm-hmm.
every day. I think one of from what I've gathered from a lot of them, because it's a lot of people in this group, but what I gathered from a lot of them felt like, you know, they were close to retirement.
Absolutely.
Not everybody, but
Right.
of course, but a lot of them felt like, oh, I'm too close to retirement.
Yes.
And when we say close, I definitely
Within
mean
2 or 3 years.
close,
Yeah.
like 2, 3, even a year.
Yeah.
Like it's too kind of too late for them to turn around and find something else, because retirement, I mean, they really work 25, 30, 40, in some cases 38, almost 40 years to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Um, so I gathered that, but I think a lot of it too is fear. And when I
Why
say,
would that be? Why would
and
that
what
be?
would for some, they've been in the same place for a long time. Like this is the only thing that
That
they
they know.
know.
Yes.
So the fear of getting out and starting over is just more overwhelming than actually getting up and saying, I had enough. I got to find something else to do.
Yeah.
That's coupled with, I always separate the retirees because of course, when you that close to the line,
Right.
yeah, even though some of them still have the courage to say, you know what, I don't care how close I am, I'm out. This is, and I know a couple of them who are like that.
Yeah.
Um,
And let's walk that back for a second. I'm gonna walk it back, and I want you to stand by it if you feel like you want to stand by it. I don't even want to call it courage. I don't even want to call it courage because, like you said, some people. My grandfather used to have a saying, and he said, "I can live in hell for a year if I know I'm going to get out." So
right.
if they are that close to retirement and they say this is my last year before retirement, let me do it and make
Oh,
that
and
sacrifice
and
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 get
let
out of
me
here.
let me be the first to say, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. You're that close. I get it. I think it's various reasons. Oh, and then some say, you know what? I am going to stay and fight. Some say that I'm going to stay and I'm going to fight. The children need some semblance of normalcy. And if all of us go,
Yes.
then what's going to happen to the children? And it's more of a heart thing from that. And Renee, I want to thank you for that because you blessed me with that last night. It's more of a heart thing with that.
Yes.
And then some solely money.
Well, and the thing about it is, this is this is this is where I am with that because for a long time, Rebecca, I made myself say this because my fight isn't someone else's fight.
Right.
My uh, um, position and challenge isn't someone else's challenge. But here's the thing: I hope that the people that I've ever worked with and that I will continue to work with, I hope that they feel that I'm a person who walks in integrity. I hope that's the case
Mm-hmm.
because I always try to do that.
Right.
I'm always going to try and treat other people the way that I would want to be treated. And I'm always going to try to have accountability for what I do. If I mess up, if I make a mistake, I will come to you and say, I've made a mistake. Here it is. I apologize for this. What can I do to correct it?
Right. I am too. I'm
Let,
the same exact way.
and let me say this. With that being said, I expect nothing more than those simple gestures in return.
Mm-hmm.
If someone has made a mistake, have accountability for that mistake. Transparency is another very important quality to me. wherever you are, whoever you are working with, there has to be a trust and level of transparency there. And all I'm saying is this, teachers, someone, wherever you are, and that doesn't mean that it's not where you are right now, but you've got to look around you, look around where you are. And if you don't see a level of transparency and trust, and as a in a reciprocal way, that should raise an eyebrow. When I see things happen like we saw happen with the leaked information that's been leaked, this year, and some of that leaked information included people that I know were, I'm not going to say acolytes of what's going on, but were trying to do their best
Right.
to march in step with what was going on, and still that was something that was done. I don't believe in any way that it was a mistake. I believe that it was a conscious mistake. But anything, ladies and gentlemen, that happens to you, it doesn't happen in a vacuum. And anything that smacks of intimidation, it is what it is.
Right. And then I know some people that were exposed, dare I say, that even though they were in a position of leadership, they still tried to do right by their people.
They did.
And because they chose not to diminish people, harm people, intimidate people, make people feel that they were less than, they paid a price.
And they may still be paying a price.
Right.
And let me say this, I think it's only fair. And Rebecca, we need to put this out. We need to put this out here on the Crystal Loves Texas podcast. Everything I say is my opinion.
Right.
It's only my opinion. It's been my experience. I cannot speak for anyone else, because there are people out there who would say that they've had exactly the opposite experience. And I respect that. I 100% respect that. But I will say this, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to anyone not being forthcoming with information, clouding information, being ambiguous with information. And you tell me if I'm right or wrong about this, but I promise that this was posted in the chat that I'm a part of. And I saw this, maybe I'm going to say a month and a half ago. Maybe I saw it wrong. But I implore you, if you're part of that teacher chat, I implore you to do this. Repost it. If starting next year, I do believe I saw in that chat in the chat on the contract that teachers have to sign.
Yeah, the contract, I saw that too.
It said that the workday begins at 12:01 a.m. and ends at 11:59 p.m. Is that correct?
That's what it said.
And you know what? I think I made a screenshot of it. And so to me, that means anytime that you are any of your waking hours, that has to be, if anybody calls on you to do anything that has to do with that job, you got to get up and go.
And here's my take on everything. Anybody that has been immersed in pedagogy, for those of you that don't know what pedagogy is the study of how children learn, pretty much.
Right.
Okay. So if anybody has been immersed in pedagogy, whether you were an education major in college or whether you did an alternative certification program and you've been teaching for years, and even if you hadn't been teaching for years and years, if you've been teaching for 1 year, if you understand pedagogical research and best practices, you understand that what we are doing and what we're being asked to do, and I don't even want to say asked, what we're being forced to do, goes against pedagogical research, best practice research. So in other words, what are we doing? We're harming children. Now, a lot of people may say, well, just do what you do and get your check.
Well, I know a lot of people have said that.
Right. Yeah. So here's the implication of that. And because Crystal and I, we're passionate not only about the children that we teach, we're passionate about the subject matter that we teach.
Right.
So this is what I say to that. You can have that attitude, go ahead and just go ahead and go get your check, get your money and go home.
Right.
But what you're doing is you're prepping and you're preparing children to go out into a world that they are not prepared to survive in. And they're going to survive one way or another. So I want everybody to be clear about what I'm saying. They are going to survive. They're not going to go hungry. They're not going to go without, even if they're not prepared to get it the proper way. So whose problem will that be? Society's. That's everybody that lives and functions in it. So this is where we are. Most
Absolutely.
children, school is a training ground for adulthood. Okay. We teach kids cognitive basic skills, or we're supposed to, or we're tasked to teach children cognitive critical thinking skills to prepare them for a world. Not saying that they're going to go to college, not saying they're going to go to the military.
Everyone will not.
Everyone will
And that's
not.
okay.
But we give them the necessary skills they need, that even if they don't go to college or even if they don't go to the military, they still have a skill that they can use to take care of themselves and contribute to society, right, instead of taking away from it.
That's right. And Rebecca, I'm going to be very honest with you. I'm looking right now into my teacher chat, and I'm going to read a couple of things that have come through anonymously to tell you the degree of despair that a lot of teachers are feeling right now. And correct me if I'm wrong, but as per a new podcast that's coming out, and I'm one of those people, guys, I don't mind sharing about a new podcast that's coming out. There is a new podcast coming out on Houston Media Source, and it's called The Takeover. The Takeover. And it is lending time and attention to everything that's happened, good or bad, in a candid way, in an unbiased way. Everything that's happened since, when was that? July of
no, ma'am, June 1st.
June 1st,
2023.
Of 2023. And we're here right back almost at June 1st, 2024. And it is basically in a candid way laying everything out that has happened, especially laying the things out that have happened previously with this particular paradigm experiment that has gone on in other cities in Texas.
Right.
Okay. And whether or not there has been a marked success with this.
Oh, and there's research on that too.
Yes.
All the research that has come out in the last 45 years, because I've also looked at the research.
Yes.
Crystal will tell you I'm a research girl. The state takeovers do not work. And why do state takeovers do not work? Simply because it is not a corporate business entity. Okay. You're dealing with the lives of children. Okay. You're dealing with the lives of human beings that you are trying to prepare again for the real world. Right. We cannot treat schools like corporate run businesses. So all of this privatization that you're hearing about, all of the vouchers that you're hearing about, and I know a lot of people are probably confused on that, but I am going to tell you those are for-profit businesses, and that's what they're trying to turn schools into, for-profit businesses.
Well, Rebecca, if that's the case, if I am a student who has been pretty much tossed around because I have behavior problems and I have emotional problems or whatever, and other schools don't necessarily want me, so that basically means to me, correct me if I'm wrong, that if this is a for-profit institution, they can elect that I'm at the end of the road and I'm no longer valuable to be educated.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Or You don't reach this certain IQ, you don't belong here.
Right.
We're only trying to have children of this IQ.
Right. And you know what, Rebecca, with that in mind, these are just, I want people to be aware. I want people to be aware of this. And I'm just reading this. This is anonymous, but I'm reading some of these. I want you guys to be aware of what some of your teachers are dealing with. Okay. And some stuff that people just need to know. Parents need to know.
The public needs to know.
Okay. A teacher says, how do I find, now this happened today, an hour ago. Exactly 1 month, a month and a half for the major school district in this city. A month and a half before school is out, thereabouts. When is school out for?
June 6th for
Okay.
teacher. No, June 5th for students, June 6th for teachers.
Okay, so we're right at a month.
Yeah,
Okay,
at a month roughly.
Here's what a teacher is saying a month before it's time for school to be out. This teacher is frustrated to this point. How do I find out who the union rep is for my campus? I'm at blank high school. Okay, they're looking for a union rep now because it's gotten to the point where whenever a teacher has to feel that the need to call in a union. Let me say this, and knock on wood. For the 16 plus years I was with HISD, I was always a member of the union, but I never had to have union representation.
Ugh.
For a teacher to have
Not
to
me.
have my point is this: for a teacher to feel as though they have to have union representation means that they have felt an intimidation factor,
Right.
to the point where they're having to call in a month before school is out. Another teacher says, hello, everyone. We're so close to the end. Whew. Question. People that have resigned or that are going to have or haven't found a job yet, are still waiting? Did y'all file for unemployment? Okay. People are at their wits' end. I don't remember having this kind of stress in prior years. Okay. Someone else says, does anyone know what the criteria is for these lists of teachers that have to resign or be terminated? My principal called in half of my team telling them they're on the list and saying it's best that they resign than be terminated, but said it wasn't solely based on spot scores. So what is this? So what is it? Why would you be sitting in
First
this
of all,
spot
tell
right
them
now? Let me finish.
Okay.
Be sitting in this spot right now without, if your job has been in jeopardy, it was probably in jeopardy in January. Okay. Then somebody just in earnest, someone should have sat with you and said, it's looking like this may not be a fit that's going to work out for what this new model is.
Right.
Okay. That way, when all those job fairs started happening in February and March and April, allow you to be there. But was that the case?
No, it was not.
Explain that a little bit.
Okay. So, you had the conference of the record specifically.
What is that?
Okay. So, a lot of people were blindsided about their job performance.
Yeah.
And when I say their job,
veteran teachers,
veteran,
some teachers have been teachers of the year and all this kind of thing.
Teachers of the year, veteran teachers who've been teaching. And when I say veteran teachers, I mean 15 plus years.
Nationally recognized
teachers. So yes. All of these teachers were blindsided. They came in. They were taken out of their classrooms while they were in the middle of instruction. I want people to hear me.
Yeah.
They were taken out of their classrooms in the middle of instruction.
And that's meant to be what type of tactic?
Bullying.
Okay. Or
intimidation.
Yeah.
So they go down to the office. Then they are at requests. They have these meetings of memos that are written up. So memos are memos, I think they're the same throughout everybody's job.
Right.
If you get a memo or memorandum, you've done something wrong, you've done something inappropriate,
or something that's urgent.
Right.
Yes.
That needs to be taken care of. These teachers were getting that. These teachers were getting memos constantly, and then they were blindsided by these things called the conference of the record. Now, if you go in for a conference of a record, you sit with your principal, you sit with your executive director, that's your principal's boss basically,
Right.
and you sit there and they tell you why your contract will not be renewed. When you have a non-renewal of a contract in any teaching field,
Right.
in America, when you have a non-renewal of contract, that means you're being terminated. Now, I will say this: it's a 6-7 process step to terminate a teacher, especially in the state of Texas.
But here's the thing, Rebecca. If it's a 6 or 7 process step, does a teacher have the option at that point to resign in good standing?
Yes, they do. But that principal has to go through in order to prove that this teacher is incompetent, to prove that this teacher is not fit for the classroom. Um, they have to go through a 6 or 7 step process. And this 6 and 7 step process, and I know people like, okay, well, that's 6, 7 steps within 9 months. No, that's 6 and 7 steps that follow into the next school year. So that shows you how difficult it is to quote unquote fire a teacher in the state of Texas.
But not just that. If a teacher is waiting like that, how does the teacher know when they should be able to go on and apply somewhere else that they could have been in at the beginning of the year?
Exactly. So all of these things were jammed. If you listen to the teachers who have had a conference of the record, i.e. me, I don't mind putting my business out there. If you listen to the teachers who had a conference of the record, I personally was blindsided by it. I was not expecting it. I have a stellar record. Crystal knows that. Other people who work with me know that I had, when it comes to instruction and test scores, even though I have my gripe about test scores sometimes, but I have a stellar record. So all of these things were eliminated. None of these things were followed through before, hey, we're getting ready to get rid of you. And in my personal case,
do you feel you were blindsided?
Oh, I was blindsided.
Okay.
I was definitely blindsided because they non-renewed or trying to non-renew my contract because they're saying it's 100% instructional. That's why. Now, I've been teaching for 11 years. In my 11 years of teaching, not one principal that I've ever had, principal or assistant principal, had ever complained about the way I've instructed kids.
Okay, here's another anonymous post. It says, I'm honestly desperate enough to get out of here and go to the county education system. It scares me a little bit, but I have a feeling discipline will be locked down tight. Anyone have any experience at their high school? What is it like? I've been waiting for calls to interview from other districts, and it seems the calls won't come. Now, let me tell you this, guys. Let me say this. I remember when I'm going to be honest with you. I was very upset at the beginning of the school year, and Rebecca would know this, and anyone who was with AFT would know this. I try to always be very fair with anyone that I'm dealing with. Last year, when we left school, we did not know really no one knew exactly what was coming with the new regime. However, to me, this is only fair. Once you find out what it is going to be, the people who have been faithful and honest and dependable for you, that work for you on a campus level, you need to be forthright with them as far as what is going on, and you allow them to make the decision as to whether or not they want to be a part of that. That's only fair.
Only fair.
That's only fair.
Only fair.
And If people do not want to be a part of it with respect, you allow them to leave
Right. Exactly.
graciously. And and once they say that they want to be a part of this, regardless of what it is, then
You
they need
hold
to buckle up for the ride.
right. Right.
But at least you say it's going to be different. Is this something that you want to be a part of? That was my first indication that there was going to be a challenge with transparency, a challenge with accountability, a challenge with honesty
And your
as far as
personal.
what was coming forth.
Right.
Because I said, here's the thing. If I had known this, if I had known my hours would be from 7 o'clock in the morning sometimes until almost
6 o'clock at night.
6 o'clock at night. And the thing about it is, if that's the case, that's fine. Just lay it out in front of me.
Right. And it's up to me to decide whether I want to take that or not.
That's right. If I had known that that these were going to be that I wasn't going to be able to have autonomy in my classroom. And the thing about it is, whenever you have different administrations come in, you have different ways that things are done. That I don't even have a problem with. But you know what? You tell me that, and you allow me to make the decision as to whether or not that's something that I want to do. That's just one professional to another.
Professional courtesy.
That's right.
What I call it.
That's right. And when there was a lack from the very beginning of professional courtesy being extended, that's when I started having a very, very bad taste in my mouth.
Right.
Even with that, I said, you know what? However, and this is another thing that I was taught, Crystal is not the Crystal show.
Right.
So, however they decide they want to do this, if they hired you into this position to do it the way that they want, I'm not going to give a lot of pushback. But if I come to a place where I feel that this situation no longer squares with my own integrity, with my own sense of value, with my own professionalism, then there's going to have to be a parting of ways.
Of course.
And you do that in a manner that is the least damaging possible. And that's what I wanted to make sure that happened. But here's the thing. One of the local union leaders was the one who spearheaded this, who said, if you stand up and you say that if teachers don't like it here, then they can go. Well,
right.
If that's the thing,
right.
then you have to give them the option of going. You can't say that and then have them locked into a situation where they can't do anything.
Exactly.
So my hat off to that particular local union leader who said, you got to put your money where your mouth is.
Right. Let them leave.
Let them leave. And a lot of teachers, I think to the tune of 850 plus have left because whatever was going on did not square with their integrity. Okay. That's one of the things that I had a problem with. I was set and told one thing when I was in a meeting before school started last year, and this was 2 weeks before school started. We sat in a meeting that was given by the principal of the school that I was at, and we were told line by line at least 4 to 5 things that were not going to happen. And those things systematically, categorically happened. And Rebecca, you can't tell me that those things were not coming straight from the top.
Right.
You know, if anything, campus leaders were not given the autonomy to make decisions like that.
Exactly.
Okay. So
and when we say campus leaders, we mean principals and assistant principals.
Yeah. So if the principal is speaking it, it's coming straight from the top.
Right.
And you know, and let me just tell it like it is. If it's one thing that I do not like anybody to come forward as a liar. I don't like that. And I believe a lot of principals may have been put in the position to look like a liar.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a good thing. That's without integrity.
And let me also add this.
It's without integrity.
Let me add this, Crystal. And we're looking at it from one side of the spectrum.
That's right.
We're looking at it from the children and the teacher and the campus side, but
Yes.
I have another anonymous,
Yes.
and this is from the district side of it.
Okay.
Parents might be wondering what the plan is to replace the massive numbers of educators who are choosing to leave the district at the end of the year. Perhaps we will get Perhaps we will get to fully staffed, but the community should be aware of the quality of people in the classroom on campuses will be significantly different next year. The pool of applicants at the recent job fair has been frightening, and this is a person that's been helping to conduct interviews. Candidates are not only not certified, they
Wow.
are usually not even interested in pursuing a certification, and in some cases
Wow.
don't even know that teacher certifications exist.
Wow.
They have almost non-existent qualifications and job history. They are not able to speak thoughtfully about the work of teaching and learning and seem to have no special interest in supporting young people. They are quite literally people off the street who have no demonstrated interest or aptitude for teaching.
Oh my gosh. Wait a minute. I'm gonna stop you just for a minute. So you said this is coming from someone within the
Within the
district.
district
My goodness. Who
who
conducts
who conducts
the job?
the interviews.
Keep going.
At these job fairs, there is enormous pressure from Hattie Mae for principals to hire on the spot
Wow.
without doing any reference checks
Oh my gosh.
whatsoever. The word is that the superintendent is worried that he is going to get called to account for
Oh
all the
my.
teachers who are leaving, and that they are trying to get fully staffed
Oh
to
gosh.
starve off media and negative publicity and criticism
Oh,
from the community.
Rebecca, I hadn't seen this. This is my first time hearing what you're saying. I hadn't heard this.
Parents need to be ready to ask questions about who is alone and responsible for their children next year.
Well, let me tell you something that was interesting to me last year when I went down with a friend who was new to the district. I went down with her. Now, I've been in the district 16 years.
Mm.
I went down to the district with her during one of our days when we were prepping our rooms. And with permission, we went down to, I had to take a new picture, and everything, ID picture. But when we went down there, I kid you not, Rebecca, when there was a huge room and the candidates were all in like a bullpen. The candidates were all in there. There were ladies in leggings with midriff tops out. There were with no underwear on because you could tell there were no lines. There were women down there who had on shorts that they called the Daisy Duke type shorts with no bra. They were going through the line being interviewed, and it was like they were clueless. So as far as anything coming into the classroom, I can say this: there is whatever that person. Kudos to that person who had the courage to write that,
Right.
because that is a telltale sign, and this is what I'm saying.
But you're not even doing background checks.
So that means anyone who is you can be a pedophile
Exactly.
possibly, and go and you make the first round. Now we can't say that as it goes on, maybe they don't do something else. Maybe they do, but is that, have you already been given an offer by that time?
Right.
And
And let me say this for the certification, because everybody has keep saying, okay, well, they're great teachers without certifications. Let me explain. Okay, because I feel like I was one of those great teachers without a
me
certificate.
too. I got alternative certification. I did.
But I actually taught before I was certified.
Right.
Not in nobody's ISD,
Right.
but I did teach before I had a
And you
certification.
decided that that's what you wanted to do.
Right.
That's right.
So, but what I learned through the certification process, because I'm not gonna lie, I was one of those people that was like, why do teachers need a certification? This is crazy. I have a college degree and I know what I'm teaching. So
Okay.
why do I? But what I learned in the process, again, certifications is not just for your content knowledge. Certifications is also for those pedagogy, for those rules and regulations.
The things that you have to
To
know when
know
dealing with
with
children,
children,
safety issues, things that have
knowing the law.
special
So
education issues, basic
exactly.
things that you have to know and implement in your
Class
classroom every day.
every single day. That's a lot. So when a teacher is not quote unquote certified and they do something that goes against the law, they don't suffer repercussion for it.
Right,
No loss license is lost. No
right.
license or sanction renewed because there is no license.
Yes.
So the example that I use in, they said, my mom said, Rebecca, that's kind of extreme. But I said, but it happens. You could slap a child and then just walk off the job. There's no
Yeah.
repercussions at all. Now, if Crystal
And walk onto another
and
job.
walk on to another job. Now, if me and Crystal would do that, we would lose our
And
license
we could not be around children anymore in the state of Texas.
or anywhere else.
Right.
Because that would show up on our background.
Right.
So that's why it's important for teachers to be certified.
And here's another thing that I've noticed, Rebecca, and I've been around a little while longer than you have been around. And this is what I noticed as far as getting people off the street. We're going to call it off the street.
Mhm.
Nothing. You can say that I was off the street
I
because
was too.
I wasn't a certified teacher. But here's the thing. When I was brought in under the auspices and signing an affidavit that I would be certified within 18 months.
Mhm.
And I would and they that was a promise because it was being taken out of my check.
Right.
Okay, once you make the commitment to do that, anyone who makes a commitment to have $6, $7, $8,000 taken out of your check the first year, basically what that's saying is that I'm making a commitment to be here for a certain amount of time. If no one even has the catalyst to have that taken out of their check, they can leave 6 months down the line. All a kid has to do is cuss them out in class, or say a cuss word to them, or threaten them, or something in class, and it happens. Does it happen, Rebecca?
Oh my God.
That's the kind of thing. And
that's
those
school
of us,
culture at this point.
those of us, but the thing about it is, we know what we're walking into every day when we come into that classroom, and we still make a conscious choice to come back there year after year, because we have learned how to navigate through those things and still be successful.
Yeah, so that means teachers can, if there's a teacher who's not certified and it's a classroom full of 30 children, and let's just reverse it like Crystal just did, and one of them cuss her out, she can leave in the middle of the day and say, you know what, I'm done. And then there's a whole class of 30 kids that's being split up to other teachers who are certified, and your child is not getting what they need.
And it's inconsistency.
And your child is not getting what they need. And guess what? You don't know nothing about it because the schools are not saying anything to you because they're not obligated to.
That's right. And Rebecca, because we are looking at being really close to the time we got to get out, guys, we could go on with this. And the thing about it is, we may do it.
It's just 7:23.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Yeah, but we gotta acknowledge some of these people. Candace, thank you so much for joining us. Candace is also an educator. We have Jairus, thank you so much for tuning in. Jairus has got kids who have gone through public schools in our area. We've got Kim. Kim, thank you so much. You have a daughter who has gone through schools in the Houston area, and I've taught your daughter, and I know
I have too.
And she says the worst thing a leader can do is alienate their wingmen and women. That's absolutely right. When you alienate all of your people who are there to make you look good and who can make you look good, and all you had to do was come in with a different posture.
Right.
That is reprehensible. Okay. That's reprehensible. Let me, Miss Janet says, before you wrap, give your audience 3 things we can do to help, including voting in every election. Thank you, Miss Janet. You are so right. I will say this. We have got to put people in place, in office, from the local level all the way through the state level, all the way up to the gubernatorial level, who are going to be champions for public education. When Horace Mann, the father of public education in this country, set forth the public education system so that there would be a public school in all states around the country. He did that to try to make sure that it was an equal playing field for people to have. At least people would be able to get a foothold. Before then, education was a privilege for the rich. We're not trying to go back to that. Let's not go back to anything like that. That's not where we want to be.
And let me say this. Let me tell you why people should be concerned. Because you have qualified people, highly qualified people that are walking out the door. Let me say that again. You have highly qualified people walking out of the door. I just read to you what is coming in August. So if that does not frighten you to get, I don't know what will. So, I mean, for those of you who say, well, I don't have no children in that, I don't have no children. Again, I on the onset earlier, when I said they will be society's problem, you're going to deal with them one way or another.
Okay, Miss Janet said 3 things. Voting is definitely one. Making sure that we demand, parents demand that there's a certified teacher in your child's classroom. Of these 850 that had to leave, you know what? Sometimes you got to eat crow.
Mm-hmm.
If we need to go back and re-interview some of these people and see how we can figure out a way to work together so that we can get the benefit of the experience of some of these certified teachers who know what they're doing in the classroom. Let's do what we need to do. Sometimes when you're a professional, when you are a leader, you learn how to go back and make it right. That's what good leadership is. Kim says, I see a giant lawsuit for HISD coming down the pike when a nefarious person commits a crime as a teacher because there were no background checks. It's going to be catastrophic. Absolutely.
So one thing you can do on my end, you can go to the school board. Matter of fact, we have a school board meeting May 9th. Please sign up for the school board. HISD school board is May 9th. It's from starting at 5 o'clock. So that's the first thing you can do. Second thing you can do is that research these candidates that are running up, coming in this November 5th election, to see if they are pro-education.
Public education.
That's what I said, pro-public education. Mm-hmm. That's the second thing you can do. And the third thing is that when you have all of these people that are reaching out to you to respond to this district, these town hall meetings and stuff like that, please come out. The problem is the community is being blindsided. And then you will be talking about, why is there so much crime? Why can't I get good customer service? Why can't I get this? Why can't I get that? So that's the things that you can do right now.
And I'm getting ready to close it out in just a second. Guys, we could talk forever. But what you need to do is go ahead online and look up the historic success rate of the system that we have in place now in Houston Independent School District. Look and see what the success rate has been, or has it been a rate of non-success or minimal success? Go and look at it for yourself. Don't wait for anybody to tell you. But Rebecca, everybody who's watching, my other teachers who are online, thank you guys so much for joining. Keep that chat going, because we are going to have a second part to this before the end of the year. We got to close out. But Rebecca, like we say every day,
we can do it. May 9th, guys. Please come out to the board meeting May 9th at the Hattie Mae White HISD building on West 44th Street. Please come out.
And there is a PE meeting, Community Voices for Public Education, that's coming up. I believe that is coming up when, Rebecca? Can you remember? If we can't remember it now, what we'll
put it in the chat.
We'll put it in the chat and make sure that that you are coming out to see that. But ladies and gentlemen, like we tell you every week again, Rebecca, we can do it. We'll see you later.
Bye, y'all.